Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. While a 100,000-year soul beast was extremely strong among soul beasts, it was still inferior compared to a transcendent Doluo like Elder Song. After she flung the six-winged dark golden tiger away, she turned around and charged towards Bai Ji again. A streak of green light swept towards Bai Ji like a sharp blade in the air, generating an intense sonic boom along the way. Although Elder Song admired Bai Ji, they were on a battlefield, and she was responsible for the millions of lives in Shrek City. Bai Ji's expression became much more serious. Given her cultivation, Elder Song wouldn't be her match if she was adept at fighting. However, it was a pity that this wasn't her strength. Her abilities were mainly used for mass healing or mass defense purposes. However, her own defensive strength was very weak. "Don't you dare," a roar echoed in the sky. Following that, a streak of purple light appeared in the sky like a long whip, and blocked the green blade that Elder Song had turned into. When the purple and green lights contacted each other, Elder Song immediately felt that something was wrong. It felt like the majestic and boundless aura from the purple light was about to devour her. Fortunately, it was her. When they collided, she suddenly twisted her body before shifting laterally at her highest speed, avoiding a direct clash with that purple light. Even so, her green shadow godly hawk made a few rolls and turns in the air before she managed to stabilize herself. However, Elder Song didn't stop pestering Bai Ji. As her figure flashed away, she reappeared on the other side of Bai Ji. Countless streaks of feather-shaped green light reached toward Bai Ji. That purple light that came from the sky was undoubtedly unleashed by Di Tian. He was the only one that was able to make her cut such a sorry figure. Not only was Elder Song in a sorry state, but the victor of the fight in mid-air seemed to have been decided just as Di Tian unleashed this strike. As a groan sounded, the huge Daotai godly bull fell from the sky. Its body was surrounded by purplish lightning. On his forehead, there was a pitch-black light surrounded by purple light. His eyes were also stained purple. Elder Xian. All the elders from the Sea God's pavilion were frantic. Yang Xiaozhe leapt up to catch Elder Xian. However, Di Tian opened his dragon wings in mid-air, and his body shrank until his wings were only 10 meters long. He turned into a deep purplish meteor and pursued Elder Xian. It was obvious that he was after Elder Xian's life. While everyone from Shrek Academy knew that Elder Xian wasn't Di Tian's match, they hadn't expected him to only last for such a short time. Just as the Soul Beast army arrived beneath the city, Elder Xian had already been defeated by Di Tian. No matter how strong the Shrek City Defense Army was, they couldn't possibly resist an attack from the #1 savage beast in the world. Everyone's heart sank. In a war in the Doluo continent, the situation couldn't be controlled if the abilities of two top-ranked individuals were too far apart from each other. Soul beasts weren't humans, and thus they naturally didn't follow the rule that a titled Doluo couldn't directly participate in a war. Di Tian didn't care about that rule at all. If he was given the liberty to do anything he wanted, he could quickly obliterate Shrek City on his own. At that critical moment, an elderly-sounding voice suddenly resonated out. "Di Tian, don't go overboard." A beam of golden light rose from the east of Shrek City. As this beam of golden light shot into the sky, it gradually grew in size and quickly turned into a huge, golden dragon. It first grabbed Elder Xian's body before dispelling the purplish-black ball in his forehead. After this, it turned around, and a huge dragon tail swept out and clashed against Di Tian, who was in hot pursuit of Elder Xian. Instantly, the earth turned golden, and the sky turned extremely dark and gloomy. A terrifying aura spread and filled the entire battlefield. All the humans and soul beasts stopped at this moment, and turned their attention towards the sky. The gold and black lights were divided into two layers, and they were even balanced out in the air as they were released. Both of the huge dragons also retreated at the same time. "Dragon God Doluo Mu Ien, you aren't dead." Di Tian sounded astonished. His mighty aura seemed to be slightly curbed too. Di Tian, I'll protect Shrek even if I'm dead. Shrek can't be treated with disrespect. Don't forget, all 7 members of the first generation of Shrek's 7 monsters have become gods. How dare you be so brazen as to lead a beast wave to attack Shrek City? Aren't you afraid of incurring the wrath of heaven? At your cultivation, you should know that the realm of gods is real. The elderly-sounding voice appeared to be slightly angry. The godly Doutai Bull also finally managed to stabilize himself. Elder Xian's body was covered in wounds, but they were quickly healing under the protection of the golden dragon. So you really are dead. You just used a special method to preserve a part of your spirit and powers. Mu Yen, you couldn't think of stopping me even if you were alive. So what if the realm of gods exists? Are they going to interfere in the affairs of the continent? I've no intention of becoming a god, either. What's there to be scared of? I'll destroy your spirit to avenge the 3-eyed golden lion. As he spoke, Di Qian looked into the sky and roared. His black scales started to shine with purple light. Xianzi, Doutai. Elder Mu's voice was very stern. His appearance also caused Shrek City to be engulfed in a layer of gentle, golden light. Teacher. Yang Xiaozhe was tearing up uncontrollably at this moment. He kneeled down in the air. All the elders from the Sea God's pavilion all bowed slightly. They greeted the dragon god Doluo, who still continued to protect Shrek after he was dead. Yes, Elder Mu wasn't completely dead. What Elder Xian had secretly told Hu Yuhao to help him out of his misery was true. Elder Mu was physically dead, but he was an ultimate Doluo. All the previous ultimate Doluo were able to hide their soul power and part of their spirits in the golden tree, and lived along with the golden tree. Given the cultivation of an ultimate Doluo, he could at least remain in the golden tree for 100 years, before he was absorbed by the golden tree and became nutrients for it. Not all ultimate Doluo chose to do so. After all, one spirit wouldn't be able to reincarnate if he did this. He would eventually become a part of the golden tree. However, Elder Mu chose this path with no future. He had sensed that Shrek was about to face a huge catastrophe in the next century. Initially, he felt that he had to protect Shrek because of Yishishure. Elder Mu was an open-minded person. To him, so what if his spirit couldn't reincarnate? If he could reincarnate, he would still forget everything in his past life. There was no meaning to it. Moreover, he wasn't one who believed in spiritual reincarnation. Perhaps he could still keep a shred of his consciousness if he depended on the magical golden tree. After all, he was probably Shrek Academy's strongest soul master in the past 1,000 years. Because of this, Elder Mu's spiritual imprint and his soul power were concealed within the golden tree. It was just that he couldn't unleash the same strength that he could as the dragon god Doluo without his physical body. However, this didn't change his determination to protect Shrek. Furthermore, he was the most familiar with Di Qian among all the strong individuals in Shrek Academy. His appearance immediately changed the disadvantageous situation Shrek was in. After hearing Elder Mu's command, Elder Xian perked up, and the godly Doutai Bull let out a deep roar. His body shone brightly with yellow light, and auspicious clouds rose underneath his feet as he flew towards the sky once again. At the same time, Elder Mu's radiant holy dragon also turned into a streak of flowing light and spiraled towards Elder Xian. As it surrounded him, intense golden light started to surge into Elder Xian's body. The Doutai godly bull's body started to transform significantly. He gradually turned bright golden, and the earth and light elements perfectly fused with each other. Golden scales started to grow on his body, and his spiral-shaped horns started to twist before adopting the structure of antlers. His 4 hooves started to become more human. A huge eye grew from each of his armpits. His face became thinner, and Elder Xian's appearance was revealed. It was just that his eyes had an aura that belonged to Elder Mu. His body shrank a little, and he no longer looked like a bull, but a goat instead. His head and jaws became extremely large. As he opened his mouth, he revealed sharp tiger's teeth. He now had the face of a goat and the teeth of a tiger. At this moment, Elder Xian was no longer the Doutai godly bull. When his martial soul was fused in a different way by Elder Mu, and his dragon bloodline was made purer, he had now transformed into the Dao Tai, one of the dragon god's 9 sons. The dragon god had split, and turned into the golden dragon and silver dragon. They had inherited the physical and spiritual strength of the dragon god, respectively. Before the dragon god split, he had had 9 sons, who had also inherited part of his abilities and bloodline. Among them, there was the ancestor of the earth dragons, and the chief of the flying dragons, while there were those who entered deep valleys and slept in volcanoes. The dragon god's 9 sons weren't able to procreate. However, they were very strong once. When the golden and silver dragon kings were still young, they had once led the dragons to rule the Doluor continent. However, they passed away one by one, and their bloodlines were partially passed down to future generations. The rule of dragons stopped when the golden dragon king died accidentally, and the silver dragon king disappeared, leaving the dragons leaderless. The soul beasts that they ruled started a rebellion and overthrew them. However, even until this day, humans and soul beasts still recognized dragons as immensely strong. Human historians still believed that the dragon's rule did not stop because of how strong the rebelling soul beasts were. Rather, it was because of some issues with the passing down of their bloodlines. The purest dragon bloodline wasn't passed down. Along with the fact that dragons found it very difficult to breed, they weren't able to maintain sufficient numbers and slowly lost their position in history. Even so, some of the remaining dragon bloodlines were still very strong. The Golden Eyes Black Dragon King Di Qian was a very good example. He wasn't the Golden Dragon King, or the Silver Dragon King, which were both avatars of the dragon god, and he wasn't one of the dragon god's 9 sons, either. However, he was still able to become the #1 savage beast. It showed how powerful dragons were in the ancient era. Right now, Elder Xian had transformed into a creature with a goat's body, a human face, and a tiger's teeth and claws. He had taken the form of the dragon god's 5th son, the Dao Tai. It wasn't going to be easy dealing with the Golden Eyes Black Dragon King, given that he had cultivation level greater than 800,000 years. Elder Mu couldn't do it in the past, and it was even more impossible now. Before Elder Mu had passed away, however, he had confirmed Elder Xian as his successor. In fact, there was once a debate in the Sea God's Pavilion regarding this matter. Yes, Elder Xian was the strongest after Elder Mu. However, he was an alcoholic and was slovenly. In terms of managing the academy, he couldn't compare to Elder Song. As a result, many elders had once suggested that Elder Song should succeed the position as the master of the Sea God's Pavilion and take control of the academy. However, Elder Mu used one reason to overrule everyone's opinion and confirmed Elder Xian as the master of the Sea God's Pavilion. This reason was the bloodline of Elder Xian's martial soul. 100 years ago, Elder Mu had lost to the Golden Eyes Black Dragon King, Di Qian. After that loss, he had thought it over carefully. Given that Di Qian's abilities were even above an ultimate Doluor, which placed him half a step into the realm of gods, what was the best way to curb him? His bloodline had already brought him to the peak of the food chain in the Doluor continent. It was almost impossible to surpass him in terms of bloodline. Di Qian's abilities were of ultimate darkness. Even Hui Yuhao's ultimate ice couldn't curb him. 100 years ago, Elder Mu hadn't expected to have a disciple in the future who possessed ultimate ice. Even if he knew, he wouldn't have been too hopeful. That was because Hui Yuhao had to cultivate until he became an ultimate Doluor. Otherwise, there was no way that he could fight Di Qian. From then on, Elder Mu had used all his efforts to nurture Elder Xian. There was only one way to curb Di Qian: start from his bloodline. No matter how strong Di Qian's bloodline was, he was still a dragon. Among all dragons, those with bloodlines that were superior to him were the Gold and Silver Dragon Kings, as well as the Dragon God's 9 sons. Elder Xian's godly Dao Tai Bu contained part of the bloodline of the Dragon God's 5th son, the Dao Tai. It was just that this bloodline wasn't complete. Although it was very strong, it was still inferior to Di Qian's bloodline. Elder Mu and Elder Xian weren't able to unleash a fusion skill. However, things became different as Elder Mu's life approached its end, and he was left with only the power of his spirit, and part of his soul power. Elder Mu could enter Elder Xian's body using his immense spiritual and soul power as an ultimate Doluo, and forcefully suppress the bull part of his martial soul. He now used all his strength to unleash the full potential of Elder Xian's Daotai bloodline, which led to the current scene. To a certain extent, Elder Xian was like a Daotai that had descended right now. Even with Di Qian's abilities, he was shocked when he saw the change that Elder Xian went through. He had lived in this world for several 100,000 years. Although part of his 800,000-year cultivation was achieved through various methods, it wasn't far-fetched to say that he was the oldest soul beast on the continent. He had personally seen the dragon god's 9 sons before, and naturally could recognize the look of the Daotai. He was stunned, and recalled how the dragons had ruled the entire Doluo continent several 100,000 years ago. "Uncle Daotai, is it really you?" Di Qian trembled slightly, and he became agitated. When he saw this powerful figure from the past, he couldn't control his emotions even with his cultivation. However, he soon got over his initial shock. "No, you're not Uncle Daotai. Scoundrels, how dare the two of you commit such blasphemy?" Di Qian roared furiously, and his scales started to stand on end. Purple light filled his golden eyes, and the dark, gloomy clouds turned purple at this instant. The entire sky seemed to be on the verge of collapse, and the entire world seemed like it was going to be destroyed under his rage. This was Di Qian's true ability, a terrifying strength capable of destroying heaven and earth. However, a streak of golden light at the east side of Shrek City rose straight into the sky and struck Elder Xian's body. Golden light shone behind him and refracted outward, forming a gentle golden barrier that engulfed the entire academy. No matter how much Di Qian raged, he couldn't reach a single inch past a 500-meter region in the sky above Shrek City. Even the Soul Beast army that was charging towards Shrek Academy was deflected away by a gentle screen, and were unable to take even half a step forward through it. This was strength that came from the Golden Tree. Under Elder Mu's guidance, the soul of the Golden Tree was unleashed. Some of the previous masters of the Sea God's Pavilion had chosen to fuse with the Golden Tree. Under the nourishment of their power, the Golden Tree protected the Sea God's Pavilion, Shrek Academy, and even Shrek City. Its power had accumulated for tens of thousands of years. Even though it could only be drawn upon within Shrek City, the Golden Tree was Shrek's final protector, and its existence was something even Di Qian's strength couldn't shake. If Di Qian was 1 foot into the realm of gods, then the Golden Tree was already half a god, given the immense soul power and energy that it contained. It was just that it didn't have any consciousness. Furthermore, it recovered at a much slower pace than humans and soul beasts after it was drained. When the first beast wave arrived, the Golden Tree wasn't utilized because the body sect was there to reinforce Shrek Academy. However, Elder Mu couldn't be bothered with things like secrecy right now, given the situation they were in. Shrek City would be obliterated if Di Qian launched a direct attack against it. The strength of the Golden Tree didn't just protect Shrek. At the same time, it also further unleashed the potential of Elder Xian's Daotai bloodline. Elder Xian and Elder Mu's powers were finally fused into the last stage, as the power of the Golden Tree poured into the Taotier's body. Instantly, the Taotier's body started to shine brightly with golden light. Di Qian's powers caused the sky to collapse, while the golden light helped to mend the sky. Even under the terrifying suppression of that purplish black light, this golden light remained very resilient, and continued to spread outward. The Taotier's body also slowly grew bigger. Di Qian seemed to sense something, and roared furiously. He shook his body forcefully, and his huge wings opened up. The light from the scales on his body dimmed slightly before expanding. Suddenly, the sky was temporarily frozen. The parts of the sky that were about to collapse earlier started to show fissures. From these fissures, dragon heads started to poke out. Every dragon head looked identical to Di Qian. They opened their mouths, and terrifying purplish-black dragon flames spewed towards the Daotai. This was an ultimate technique that Di Qian specialized in, myriad dragon flames. This attack was strong enough to annihilate an entire city. However, Elder Mu had already started preparing to deal with Di Qian's abilities 100 years ago. How could Di Tian succeed so easily? The Dao Tai had already grown larger than Di Tian. He slowly lifted his head and opened his mouth before unleashing a furious, earth-shaking roar. As one of the dragon's god 9 sons, the Taotie's bloodline was naturally closer to the dragon god than Di Tian. His mighty roar didn't just stop all the dragon heads that were spewing dragon flames. At the same time, all the soul beasts with dragon bloodlines were crawling on the ground, shuddering, and didn't dare disobey him. A ball of intense golden light was released from the Taotie's mouth, but it wasn't unleashed towards Di Tian. It rapidly grew in the air and transformed into a huge head that was more than 1,000 meters in diameter. It was a head identical to the Taotie's own. As it opened its golden mouth, it sucked in Di Tian's myriad dragon flames. All the dragon flames were sucked into its mouth. The terrifying force even seemed to suck the dragon heads out of the cracks in the sky. Di Tian was shocked, and quickly beat his wings, turning around and sweeping his tail out. It was whipped towards the side of that golden projection with a terrifying aura. However, he still underestimated the strength of the Dao Tai jointly formed by Elder Xian, Elder Mi, and the Golden Tree. The Dao Tai was currently around as strong as Di Tian, but his bloodline was purer. Elder Mu had tapped into the pure strength in the Golden Tree, along with his own soul power, to unleash the strength of the Dao Tai. This Dao Tai was close to being half a god, and it might even be stronger than the real Dao Tai was back then. The Dao Tai was adept at devouring things. He loved delicacies, which was the reason why his abilities were linked to devouring things. No one's digestive abilities could compare to him. After Di Tian's myriad dragon flames were devoured, they were quickly transformed into purplish-black whirlpools, and clearly vanished within the golden light. When Di Tian's tail whipped over, the Dao Tai twisted his head to one side and opened his jaws wide before biting onto it. Such a powerful whip was forcefully stopped, just like that. Furthermore, more than a third of Di Tian's body, starting from his tail, was swallowed by the Dao Tai. Di Tian was extremely furious, and he started to struggle with all his might, roaring madly as he tried to break free from the Taotie's mouth. However, the Taotie's strength was beyond his expectations. No matter how hard he tried, he wasn't able to break free. The Taotie's body started to shine with bright gold light, and fused with the Taotie's golden head. As this golden light continued to expand, it slowly devoured Di Tian's body. Di Tian was infuriated as he shouted, "Do you think you can avoid this calamity by using this enhanced strength to trap me? Dream on. Even if you can trap me for an hour, it won't be able to last for long. I really want to see what strength all of you have to protect Shrek. Those from the Great Star Do Forest attack. Attack and destroy this city in front of me. Kill." As Di Tian shouted out one last time, his huge body was devoured by the Dao Tai. Golden light flashed, and the sky turned into a patch of gold. However, the golden light that came from the golden tree seemed to have been used up, and vanished from the air. The patch of gold that had protected Shrek City also disappeared. That majestic fight had indeed astonished all, both humans and soul beasts. This was indeed a duel between the best on the continent. The strength that both parties summoned had completely exceeded that of a peak title Doluor. Shrek Academy had eventually managed to seal Di Tian with the power that they had accumulated over thousands of years. However, Elder Xian and Elder Mu's abilities were also sealed right now. As for how long they could seal Di Tian, it wasn't easy to tell. Even so, Shrek's revelation of its high-end strength, which wasn't inferior to that of the Great Stardo Forest, had a great effect in boosting the morale of Shrek City. Di Tian's last roar was his final order to the beast wave from the Great Star Do Forest. The barrier erected by the golden tree had disappeared. Instantly, countless beasts rushed towards the city. "Fire the Zhuge divine crossbow cannons." Shushing roared furiously into the air. In the distance, Elder Song started to pester Bai Ji again using her speed. Figure after figure also started to charge towards the sky on one side of the forest to protect her. The high-end combat strengths of both parties started to clash. The Zhuge divine crossbow cannons were fired again, and hundreds of high-explosive bombs were fired rapidly into the air. Shishing's commands were very precise. The cannons weren't fired towards the soul beasts that were charging in front, but they were aimed slightly further back. In this way, the soul beasts would be separated. Furthermore, these cannons were fired with full force this time. They fired 3 consecutive volleys, and more than 1,600 high-explosive bombs were fired towards the soul beasts. They were divided into 3 different waves. The timing between each wave was less than 5 seconds. After the previous lesson, these soul beasts were no longer so passive. Those whose cultivations were greater than 10,000 years instantly unleashed their innate soul skills towards the bombs that were approaching them when they saw the high explosives coming. Many bombs exploded in the air and didn't strike any of them. However, Shishing's attack was indeed quite vicious. As the cannons were fired in 3 different waves, the intensity of the attack was 3 times stronger than earlier. As the Soul Beast army was unprepared, they still suffered a lot. Close to 2/3 of the high explosive bombs still struck the soul beasts. As tremendous explosions occurred, Shrek City seemed to be shaken as buzzes and groans echoed back and forth. The terrifying explosions caused the earth to shake, and the blood and flesh of soul beasts splattered all around. When she saw this scene, Bai Ji's face turned cold. She couldn't be bothered with Elder Song's pestering, and unleashed her mass healing ability. A huge patch of azure light quickly engulfed the center of the region where the explosions had occurred. However, Elder Song was extremely strong. Without Di Tian's threat in the sky, she slashed open another wound on Bai Ji's right arm, a streak of green light flashing by just when Bai Ji was using her mass healing ability. The 400,000-year soul beasts protecting Bai Ji roared out furiously at the same time, and an intense concentration of attacks was instantly directed at Elder Song. However, Elder Song's speed was simply too scary. As the fastest soul master in Shrek, she unleashed her full strength through her green shadow godly hawk. A streak of green light could be seen flashing through the air, but the powerful soul beasts weren't able to see her clearly. They were helpless as she continued to pester them. Elder Song used her actions to teach a lesson to all the soul masters from Shrek Academy. She was teaching them how an agility type soul master should fight. In terms of abilities, Elder Song couldn't compare to so many strong soul beasts working together. However, she managed to perfectly tap into her ungodly speed to terrorize her enemies. She didn't have the intention to harm them overmuch, but only aimed to pester them. Her offensive strength would be lethal if one ignored her. However, their attacks would also be completely useless against her if they tried to make a move against her. They could only remain cautious around her. Instantly, all these powerful soul beasts were rendered completely helpless. Bai Ji's treatment was precise and just in time. She managed to save many of the soul beasts' lives. However, there were simply too many explosive bombs, and countless soul beasts still lost their lives. Even the ground was left with huge depressions that obstructed the soul beasts behind them. In terms of intelligence, soul beasts couldn't compare to humans. Those soul beasts, who were leading the charge in front, continued to charge towards Shrek City due to their excessive bravery. They didn't even bother with the fact that their reinforcements behind had been obstructed. These ferocious soul beasts arrived at the city wall and immediately started to scale them through various means. At the top of the city walls were powerful soul masters from Shrek in formations, waiting for these soul beasts to come. Of the 3,000 soul masters, 1,000 moved forward in unison, and every one of them lifted a soul ray spear to their shoulders. Countless soul rays started to rain down the sides of the city walls, as they were fired towards the soul beasts scaling the walls. The soul beasts that were charging in front were the weakest. There were very few among them that were adept at long-range attacks. Even if there were any that specialized in long-range attacks, they could still be easily overcome, given the sheer number of powerful soul masters at the top of the city walls. However, these soul beasts still used their bodies to resist the soul rays. The first wave was instantly suppressed by the countless soul rays. As the soul beasts screamed in pain, they fell off the city walls. They were only able to leave behind scratch marks on the walls, even with their sharp claws. The Zhuge divine crossbow cannons also took this opportunity to cool down. When the soul beasts in the second ranks charged over later, those soul beasts that were originally in front had mostly been killed. As for Shrek City, it was completely undamaged. Some of those who had just joined the Shrek City Defense Army were inevitably nervous earlier, when they saw the size of the beast wave coming towards Shrek City. However, their confidence started to grow as time passed and the Soul Beast Army suffered heavy casualties, while they remained completely unhurt. At this point, the Tang sect arrived at the top of the city walls. Bei Bei was leading them, and they met up with Dean Yang Xiaozhe. Reporting to Dean Yang, Bei Bei brought everyone from the Tang sect over in front of Yang Xiaozhe, and greeted him respectfully. Yang Xiaozhe said in a low-pitched voice, "It's great that all of you are here. All of you can prepare here to serve as our backup. Remember, don't get too far away from me. This time, your Zhuge divine crossbow cannons have helped us greatly. Take a look." Yang Xiaozhe looked very excited right now. He wasn't excited because they had killed a large number of soul beasts. He was excited because of Elder Mu's appearance. Elder Mu wasn't dead, and his spirit was going to live forever. To him, he felt as if he had returned to his younger days, when he had listened to Elder Mu's lectures. When Elder Mu and Elder Xian collaborated to seal Di Qian in the sky, Shrek Academy's confidence was greatly boosted. Against this terrifying beast wave, Shrek City had completely gained the upper hand. Bei Bei laughed bitterly. "Dean Yang, we are actually here to ask for forgiveness." Yang Xiaozhe was momentarily stunned, and then immediately realized something. He raised his right hand, and a streak of soul power started to expand. Both him and Bei Bei were engulfed by this streak of soul power, and all outside noise was isolated. What happened?" Yang Xiaozhe asked. Bei Bei laughed bitterly. "On our way here, we met Nan Qiuqiu, who was rushing back from the Sun Moon Empire. She's the young sect leader of the Earth Dragon sect that we brought back from Radiant City. This time, she returned with her mother, Elder Nan Shueishui." Nan Qiuqiu, Nan Shueishui. Yang Xiaozhe was stunned for a moment, but he soon reacted. "Are you saying that Yu Hao returned to Sunrise City to save the two of them? Since they are back, where's Yu Hao? What's happened to him? Is he fine?" Yu Hao was simply too important to Shrek Academy. He was the heir to the Sea God's Pavilion. He was supposed to succeed Yang Xiaozhe in the future. Furthermore, Yu Hao's ultimate ice martial soul and the spirits that he had researched were very important to the future of the academy. Right now, Bei Bei didn't know whether he was supposed to be excited or depressed. On their way here earlier, they had stumbled upon Nan Shueishui and Nan Qiuqiu, who were both returning to Shrek City. As they returned, Nan Qiuqiu recounted everything that had happened between them and Yu Hao to Bei Bei. After hearing them, Bei Bei was stunned for half a minute before he quickly led his comrades toward the southern city wall. A beast wave had come from the Great Star Do Forest, and Yu Hao was the one who had started this mess. After listening to Bei Bei's retelling of the events, Yang Xiaozhe's reaction was identical to Bei Bei's reaction previously. He just stood there in a daze. Wang Qiu'er was actually the human form of the Emperor Beast. This is too unbelievable. Even titled Doluor like us didn't notice anything different between her and a human. No wonder she was the Emperor Beast. What about Yu Hao? When is he returning? Yang Xiaozhe quickly questioned Bei Bei. Part 1 end here.